Picture this: a $5,000 handbag sitting unsold in a luxury boutique while customers walk past without a second glance, scrolling through their phones, comparing prices and questioning if that logo is even worth the hype anymore. The golden age of luxury brands might be coming to a quiet end, and the cracks are showing faster than anyone expected. What was once the ultimate symbol of success and aspiration is now facing an identity crisis that could reshape the entire industry. The brands that defined elegance and exclusivity for generations are watching their cultural relevance slip away, and the question isn't if they'll fall, but when and how hard. Welcome to a deep dive into the luxury industry's looming crisis, where we're going to explore the real reasons why the world's most prestigious brands are losing their grip on consumers. This isn't just about changing fashion trends or economic downturns. We're talking about fundamental shifts in how people view wealth, status, and authenticity. Whether you're a fashion enthusiast, a business student, or just someone curious about why that Gucci bag doesn't seem as cool as it used to, this video will give you insider perspective on an industry in turmoil. We'll examine specific brands, break down the mistakes they're making, and reveal the uncomfortable truths that luxury executives don't want you to know. By the end, you'll understand why your favorite high-end brands might not survive the next decade and who's really responsible for their downfall. Let's get into it. Louis Vuitton has become the poster child for what happens when exclusivity meets mass production. Walk through any major city and you'll see the monogram pattern everywhere, from authentic pieces to convincing replicas that even experts struggle to identify. The brand that once represented refined taste and limited availability now feels more common than exclusive. Their strategy of aggressive expansion opened stores in every major mall and airport, making the brand accessible but destroying the very scarcity that made it desirable. When everyone from teenagers to retirees carries the same bag, the status symbol loses its power. Louis Vuitton reported over 20 billion euros in revenue recently, but growth is slowing as younger consumers reject the idea of paying premium prices for what they perceive as overexposed branding. The company's reliance on logo-heavy designs rather than innovative craftsmanship has turned their products into walking advertisements that scream, "Look at me," rather than whisper sophistication. Gucci experienced a meteoric rise under a previous creative director, who transformed the brand with maximalist designs and quirky aesthetics that resonated with millennials. However, the brand's rapid expansion and collaboration overload diluted its luxury positioning. By 2023, Gucci's sales declined significantly as the brand struggled with identity confusion. They flooded the market with everything from sneakers to hair clips, making the brand feel less like luxury and more like fast fashion with a high price tag. The pricing strategy became particularly controversial when customers discovered that quality didn't match the cost, with reports of hardware tarnishing and stitching failing on $1,000 items. Gucci's parent company Kering saw stock prices tumble as the brand lost momentum. The departure of creative director Alessandro and subsequent creative changes signaled internal panic. But changing designers every few years only reinforces the perception that the brand lacks a coherent vision and is desperately chasing trends rather than setting them. Balenciaga faced potentially irreversible damage to its reputation following a 2022 advertising campaign that sparked massive controversy and public outrage. The brand's decision to feature imagery that many found deeply inappropriate demonstrated catastrophic judgment that no amount of apology could fully repair. Within days, celebrities were denouncing the brand, customers were burning their products, and social media erupted with calls for boycotts. The crisis revealed a darker truth about luxury fashion. In the pursuit of edgy, boundary-pushing content, brands sometimes cross lines that alienate the very customers who fund their existence. Balenciaga's sales reportedly dropped, and the brand pulled back from public visibility. More importantly, the incident shattered the illusion that luxury brands operate with superior taste and ethical standards. Parents who once proudly bought Balenciaga sneakers for their kids now view the brand with suspicion. The creative director's vision of provocation backfired spectacularly, proving that shock value without responsibility destroys trust faster than any competitor could. Burberry has been struggling with brand positioning for over a decade. unable to decide whether it's classic British heritage or modern streetwear. The iconic check pattern became associated with counterfeits and certain cultural groups in ways the brand found undesirable, leading to a confusing strategy of alternately embracing and distancing itself from its signature design. Multiple CEO changes and creative director rotations created inconsistency that confused loyal customers and failed to attract new ones. The brand's attempt to go upmarket with higher prices wasn't supported by corresponding increases in quality or desirability. Burberry's revenue growth stagnated while competitors surged ahead. Their stores often feel stuck between stuffy traditional retail and trendy youth culture, satisfying neither demographic. The trench coat, once an aspirational purchase, now feels like an outdated symbol of a brand that can't evolve. Recent attempts to destroy unsold merchandise sparked outrage about wastefulness, further damaging the brand's image among environmentally conscious consumers who represent the future luxury market. Chanel maintains its prestige better than most, but even this fortress of luxury faces mounting challenges that threaten its long-term dominance. The brand's strategy of regular price increases has reached absurd levels, with classic flap bags now costing over $10,000, representing increases of over 60% in just 5 years. This aggressive pricing isn't matched by improvements in quality, and customers are noticing. Online forums overflow with complaints about caviar leather quality declining and hardware issues on bags costing more than used cars. Chanel's refusal to sell online while raising prices creates artificial scarcity that feels manipulative rather than exclusive. The brand relies heavily on its founder's legacy, but younger consumers don't have the same emotional connection to Coco Chanel's story. The creative output since Karl Lagerfeld's death has been competent but uninspiring, lacking the cultural moments that keep brands relevant. Chanel's insistence that it's worth whatever they charge works until customers decide it isn't, and that tipping point approaches as alternatives offer better value and more authentic stories. Prada struggled through the 2010s, looking increasingly irrelevant before staging a comeback with its Re-Nylon initiative and street-style appeal. However, the brand's resurgence feels fragile and trend-dependent rather than built on solid foundations. Their minimalist aesthetic appeals to fashion insiders but lacks the emotional pull that creates devoted customers. Prada's pricing sits in an awkward middle ground, too expensive for aspirational buyers but not prestigious enough for ultra-wealthy consumers who prefer Hermès or Chanel. The brand's intellectual art world positioning alienates mainstream luxury shoppers who want glamour and status, not philosophical statements. Prada's revenue remains inconsistent, growing in some quarters and contracting in others. The company's heavy dependence on Miu Miu, its younger sister brand, for growth reveals that the main Prada label lacks vitality. Their advertising often feels cold and unapproachable, reinforcing perceptions that the brand is for fashion elites rather than successful people who want to enjoy luxury. Without a clear identity beyond sophisticated minimalism, Prada risks becoming a niche player while more accessible or more exclusive brands capture market share. Dior maintains strong performance through savvy celebrity partnerships and the continued success of its beauty line, but the ready-to-wear and handbag divisions show warning signs. The brand's aesthetic under Maria Grazia Chiuri has divided opinion, with critics arguing the designs lack innovation and excitement. Dior's bar jacket and Lady Dior bag are iconic, but the brand hasn't created a must-have product in years. The company's marketing relies heavily on celebrity ambassadors like Jennifer Lawrence and Jisoo, but this influencer-dependent strategy feels less authentic than organic brand love. When a brand needs constant celebrity validation to stay relevant, it suggests the products can't stand on their own merits. Dior's pricing has climbed steadily, with handbags now competing with Chanel and Hermès despite not offering the same craftsmanship or heritage. The brand's haute couture shows generate press but feel disconnected from what actual customers buy. Dior's strength in cosmetics and fragrance paradoxically weakens its luxury fashion positioning, as mass-market beauty products bearing the same name dilute the exclusivity of $4,000 dresses. Hermès stands as the exception that proves the rule, maintaining strict quality control and genuine scarcity while other brands fake it. Their refusal to discount, careful distribution, and legendary waiting lists for Birkin and Kelly bags create authentic demand that money alone can't satisfy. However, even Hermès isn't immune to changing consumer values. The brand's reliance on exotic skins faces increasing ethical scrutiny from younger buyers who question the necessity of crocodile and ostrich leather in a world aware of environmental and animal welfare issues. Hermès's traditional craftsmanship, while impressive, doesn't resonate with digital natives the same way it did with previous generations. The brand's ultra-exclusive positioning means it captures a tiny sliver of the luxury market. And as wealth becomes more concentrated, even wealthy consumers may reject spending $50,000 on a handbag as obscene rather than aspirational. Hermès represents old money values in an age that's increasingly skeptical of inherited wealth and conspicuous consumption. The brand's success depends on maintaining mystique, but mystique is harder to preserve in an age of social media transparency where nothing stays secret for long. Fendi built its modern reputation on the baguette bag trend of the early 2000s, but has struggled to recapture that lightning in a bottle. The brand's logo-heavy designs feel dated compared to more subtle luxury competitors. Fendi's association with fur, particularly its fur-trimmed bags and coats, has become a liability as attitudes shift against animal products in fashion. The brand attempted to pivot with its peekaboo and other bags, but none achieved iconic status. Fendi's ready-to-wear often looks overwrought, with excessive embellishment that reads as trying too hard. The brand sits awkwardly within LVMH's portfolio, overshadowed by Louis Vuitton and Dior while lacking a clear differentiation. Fendi's pricing is aspirational luxury level, but the brand recognition doesn't match, creating a value perception problem. Their stores often feel empty compared to bustling competitors, a visual reminder of declining relevance. The brand's Italian heritage is valuable, but Fendi hasn't leveraged it into a compelling modern narrative. Without a strong creative vision or cultural moment, Fendi risks fading into a heritage brand that older consumers remember fondly but younger ones ignore completely. Givenchy has cycled through creative directors like a revolving door, with each bringing a different vision that prevented the brand from establishing a consistent identity. The departure of Riccardo Tisci, who gave Givenchy an edgy, street luxury appeal, left a void that subsequent designers haven't filled. The Antigona bag had a moment but never reached iconic status, and no other Givenchy product has captured widespread desire. The brand's positioning is unclear. It's not edgy enough for fashion-forward consumers, not classic enough for traditional luxury buyers, and not prestigious enough for status seekers. Givenchy's couture line, once legendary under Hubert de Givenchy himself, now feels like an afterthought compared to Dior and Chanel. The brand's pricing doesn't offer value compared to alternatives, and the designs lack distinctive elements that make them immediately recognizable. Givenchy's connection to its founder's elegant legacy feels severed, replaced by a corporate fashion brand that could be anything. LVMH's ownership provides resources, but also creates pressure for commercial success that may compromise creative integrity. Without a strong point of view or must-have products, Givenchy exemplifies the mid-tier luxury brand crisis where everything is expensive but nothing feels special. Saint Laurent under Anthony Vaccarello has maintained a consistent rocker chic aesthetic that appeals to a specific demographic but feels repetitive to others. The brand's reliance on mini skirts, leather jackets, and stiletto boots has become predictable, lacking the innovation that keeps luxury exciting. YSL's logo bags became ubiquitous, following the Louis Vuitton path of overexposure that erodes exclusivity. The brand's pricing increased dramatically without corresponding quality improvements, with customers complaining about leather that scratches easily and hardware that tarnishes. Saint Laurent's provocative advertising occasionally crosses into gratuitous territory that feels more exploitative than empowering. The brand's appeal skews heavily toward a specific type of customer, limiting its potential market compared to more versatile competitors. Yves Saint Laurent's revolutionary legacy in fashion history feels increasingly distant from what the brand represents today. The ready-to-wear often looks best on models, but translates poorly to real-world wear, creating a gap between runway fantasy and customer reality. While Saint Laurent remains commercially successful within Kering's portfolio, Its creative stagnation and pricing aggression mirror the broader industry problems that eventually catch up with every brand. Bottega Veneta attempted a radical strategy under Daniel Lee, deleting social media and pursuing scarcity through limited availability. The approach created buzz among fashion insiders but confused mainstream customers who couldn't find or buy products. The pouch bag and cassette bag became hits, but Bottega's intrecciato weave, once distinctive, now appears on countless knockoffs that undermine the original's specialness. Lee's departure and replacement with Mathieu Blazy brought another creative shift, once again disrupting brand consistency. Bottega's stealth wealth positioning appeals to those who want luxury without logos, but this customer base is smaller and less reliably enthusiastic than logo lovers. The brand's pricing is extremely high, with leather goods costing as much as or more than competitors with stronger heritage. Bottega's social media absence might create mystique, but also means the brand loses daily engagement with consumers who discover and fall in love with brands online. The strategy feels like artificial scarcity rather than genuine exclusivity, a distinction customers increasingly recognize. Without iconic products that transcend creative director changes, Bottega risks being a fashion insider's brand that never achieves the cultural penetration or financial scale of true luxury giants. Valentino's rock-stud shoes and bags had a significant moment but became so copied that the originals lost impact. The brand's romantic, ultra-feminine aesthetic under Pierpaolo Piccioli was beautiful but commercially limited, appealing primarily to special occasion dressing rather than everyday luxury. Valentino's haute couture shows were artistic triumphs, but financially unsustainable, subsidized by ready-to-wear and accessories that didn't sell at the volume needed. The brand's pink shade, Valentino Pink, became recognizable, but not necessarily desirable beyond a niche audience. Piccioli's exit in 2024 marked another brand in transition, facing the challenge of reinvention while maintaining identity. Valentino's pricing positions it at the highest luxury tier, but the brand recognition doesn't match Chanel or Dior, creating a value perception issue. The brand's Italian craftsmanship is genuine, but hasn't been translated into a compelling modern narrative that resonates beyond Fashion Week attendees. Valentino's stores, while beautiful, often feel more like museums than shopping destinations, prioritizing aesthetics over commercial appeal. The brand exemplifies the luxury dilemma of balancing artistic vision with business reality, and currently the balance tilts toward beautiful irrelevance rather than profitable desirability. Celine under Hedi Slimane became unrecognizable from its previous iteration under Phoebe Philo, alienating devoted customers while trying to attract new ones. Hedi's rock and roll aesthetic replaced Philo's intellectual minimalism, a jarring shift that felt like two different brands sharing a name. The controversy highlighted how creative director changes can destroy rather than refresh brand equity. Celine's logo change, pricing increases, and new product lines seemed designed to erase the beloved Philo era rather than build on it. Customers who loved the luggage tote and minimalist ready-to-wear felt abandoned, while those attracted to Hedi's vision questioned why they should pay Celine prices for an aesthetic available elsewhere. The brand's positioning became confused, neither classic French luxury nor successfully edgy alternative. Celine's sales reportedly grew under Hedi, but at what cost to long-term brand identity and customer loyalty? The example demonstrates how luxury brands treat heritage as disposable when chasing trends, undermining the very stability that justifies premium pricing. A brand that changes completely every few years isn't a luxury house with timeless values. It's a fashion label chasing whatever seems commercially promising at the moment. Versace sold to Capri Holdings and immediately faced questions about maintaining identity under corporate ownership focused on profitability over creativity. More recently, in April 2025, Prada announced it would purchase Versace from Capri Holdings in a deal valued at $1.38 billion. The brand's maximalist aesthetic, defined by bold prints and overt sexuality, feels increasingly out of step with contemporary values around body image and empowerment. Versace's logo, the Medusa head, is instantly recognizable, but has been licensed extensively, appearing on everything from home goods to hotel amenities in ways that dilute luxury positioning. The brand's dependence on Donatella Versace's personal celebrity and connection to the founder's legacy creates succession questions about what happens when she's no longer involved. Versace's pricing has increased dramatically, but the craftsmanship doesn't justify the cost compared to Italian competitors with stronger artisan credentials. The brand's aesthetic appeals to a specific customer who wants attention and glamour, but this market is limited and potentially shrinking as subtlety gains favor. Versace's attempts to modernize through collaborations and contemporary designers often clash with its core DNA, creating products that satisfy neither traditionalists nor modernists. The brand represents old-school luxury excess at a time when even wealthy consumers increasingly value discretion and substance over flash, leaving Versace looking backward rather than forward. Balmain under Olivier Rousteing became Instagram luxury, designed primarily to look good in photos rather than in person. The heavily embellished, body-conscious aesthetic maximized social media impact but often looked costume-like in real life. Balmain's pricing reached extraordinary levels, with simple t-shirts costing hundreds and jackets thousands, justified more by celebrity associations than actual quality or craftsmanship. The brand's collaboration with H&M created massive hype, but also revealed that Balmain's designs could be approximated at fast fashion prices, undermining the luxury positioning. Rousteing's personal brand and social media presence sometimes overshadowed the products themselves, making Balmain feel more about the designer's celebrity than the clothes. The brand's ready-to-wear often required a very specific body type and confidence level that limited its appeal beyond young, fit, wealthy consumers seeking attention. Balmain's cultural moment has passed, with the Instagram aesthetic that made it famous now feeling dated as social media evolves beyond highly produced, overtly luxurious content. The brand demonstrates how building luxury around social media trends creates vulnerability when those trends inevitably shift, leaving behind expensive products that no longer generate the digital validation that justified their purchase in the first place. Dolce & Gabbana's aesthetic had already begun feeling outdated, with its Sicilian widow meets Italian gangster vibe appealing to a narrowing customer base. The brand's clothes often looked costume-like rather than wearable, designed more for runway impact than real-world versatility. Their pricing remained high while quality concerns emerged, with customers reporting construction issues on expensive pieces. The designer's personal politics and statements occasionally sparked controversy beyond the China incident, creating ongoing reputation risks. Dolce & Gabbana exemplifies how luxury brands depend on global goodwill that can evaporate through arrogance and insensitivity, and how personal brand identities become liabilities when designers can't separate their views from business realities. Tom Ford built a brand based on his personal taste and sex appeal, creating sleek, expensive products that screamed sophistication. However, Ford's sale of his brand to Estée Lauder and subsequently to other buyers raised questions about authenticity and creative control. The brand's eyewear and fragrances became its most successful categories, but fashion insiders know beauty and accessories success doesn't equal ready-to-wear credibility. Tom Ford's departure from day-to-day involvement meant the brand bearing his name continued without his actual creative input, creating an authenticity problem. The brand's aesthetic was so tied to Ford's personal image that without him, it felt like an imitation of itself. Tom Ford stores, while beautifully designed, often seemed more about projecting luxury than offering compelling products, with high prices for items that didn't necessarily justify the cost through quality or design innovation. The brand occupied an awkward position, too new to have heritage, too expensive to be accessible, and too dependent on its founder's reputation to stand independently. Ford's genius at building brands ironically created a brand that couldn't survive his absence, demonstrating that personality-driven luxury houses face existential questions when the personality leaves or ages out of cultural relevance. So, who's really to blame for luxury's quiet downfall? It's tempting to point fingers at creative directors who lost their vision, or CEOs who prioritized profits over prestige, or private equity owners who treated heritage brands like any other asset. But the truth is more complex and more interesting. Luxury brands themselves are responsible for abandoning the principles that made them special. They chose expansion over exclusivity, logos over craftsmanship, and trend-chasing over timeless design. They raised prices without improving quality, assuming customers would pay anything for a famous name. They treated their heritage as a marketing tool rather than a sacred trust. Meanwhile, consumers changed too. Younger generations value experiences over possessions, authenticity over status, and sustainability over conspicuous consumption. They can spot manufactured scarcity and inflated pricing, and they're not impressed by tactics that worked on their parents. Social media democratized fashion knowledge, so customers now understand that a $5,000 bag might cost $200 to produce. The information asymmetry that allowed luxury brands to command premium pricing through mystique has collapsed. Technology companies like Apple created new luxury paradigms where innovation matters more than heritage, and where products earn prestige through genuine superiority rather than manufactured exclusivity. The traditional luxury playbook of heritage, craftsmanship, and scarcity doesn't resonate the same way when customers can access any product information instantly and compare alternatives globally. Economic inequality has also played a role, as the middle class that once aspired to luxury has been squeezed, while the ultra-wealthy have so much money that even expensive luxury feels meaningless. The aspirational customer who saved for months to buy one luxury item has less purchasing power, while the billionaire customer can buy everything without effort, removing the satisfaction of earning something special. Luxury exists in the space between accessible and impossible, and that space is shrinking. The brands that survive will be those that recognize these fundamental changes and adapt by offering genuine value, whether through superior craftsmanship, authentic sustainability, innovative design, or experiences that justify their pricing. Those that continue playing the old game of manufactured scarcity, logo dependence, and price increases without substance will fade into irrelevance, remembered as relics of an era when a brand name alone was enough. If this deep dive into luxury's crisis opened your eyes to what's really happening in the fashion industry, smash that like button to help others discover these truths. Drop a comment telling me which luxury brand you think will fall first, or if you disagree with any of my assessments, let's share in the comments section. Share this video with anyone who loves fashion, works in retail, or just enjoys understanding the business forces shaping culture. The luxury industry's reckoning is just beginning, and you're now ahead of the curve in understanding why the brands that seemed untouchable are suddenly looking very vulnerable. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.